Hello everyone, it's Claude Rose from ACOM, and thank you for your interest in EZConnect, EDI, XML, data translation software. What we'll focus on in this 12-minute webinar are the drag and drop mapping features of EZConnect. If you want to see a full overview of EZConnect, of the full package, there's another webinar you can have access to. It's also 12 minutes. Or just contact us for the links or for even a full live demonstration of the software. Today, and there's my contact info. I've been with ACOM 21 years, focused on electronic document solutions. Glenn Pagel will be doing the heavy lifting today on the technical side with over 20 years of EDI expertise. And for the agenda today, we will go ahead and show off the drag and drop mapping capabilities and demonstrate to you the features and the value of drag and drop mapping for EDI, XML, data translation. Glenn will be doing about a 7-8 minute demo of the software, and then we'll go ahead and wrap up and talk about the opportunity for no-charge EDI consultation. The limitations of older EDI systems that do not have the drag and drop mapping features are that adding new trading partners and maps are difficult and expensive to implement. They're very time-consuming. There's limited flexibility. The file formats you want to use are not supported. And also, there's no or limited ability to add conditional logic, not to mention, of course, things like the expense of the older solutions. So when we look at this diagram here of EZConnect, EZConnect, of course, is at the core and the center of the solution, and it's allowing your company to connect to your suppliers or to your customers. And the way you would connect to your suppliers, of course, is you would get any file format from your suppliers would typically send you things like advanced ship notices or invoices, and while you would be sending your suppliers perhaps purchase orders. And with EZConnect, it'll do the translation and take an advanced ship notice or take an invoice from your suppliers and do the translation. Let's say your supplier sends you an 810 EDI invoice. It will go ahead and do the translation of the EDI, post it right into your accounting software or warehouse software or into any ODBC compliant database. And likewise for your customers might be sending you purchase orders via EDI or XML, and EZConnect will do the translation and any-to-any translation, and then again post it to your accounting software or any database. And so the reasons for drag and drop mapping, again, are to save you time and money and give you the best tool for adding as many trading partners as you can. And Glenn will go ahead and make you the presenter here so you can show us the map manager portion of the EZConnect software. We're not going to look at the full software, but we are going to look at the drag and drop mapping capabilities. And again, to see the full software, just contact me, and we have recorded as well as live demos that we can provide you. And Glenn, we should be seeing your desktop here shortly.
Very good, Claude. Thank you very much for the turnover. And everybody, here is our map managing tool. You've already seen the EZConnect preliminary demo showing all of the additional features and a very quick overview of EZConnect overall. This is specifically for the map manager, creating maps, how we go about mapping elements and creating documents using our map manager tool. EZConnect is a schema-driven tool. We have a variety of schemas and maps available to you to incorporate and import down a variety of samples that we include with the software when you purchase. Some of the examples that I have here today, for example, are for EDI to flat file, for example. So if I was going to go ahead and optimize my main menu screen here, get rid of my main menu, gives me a little bit more workspace. So what I see here on the left-hand side is my EDI source column. That column here is available to identify all the individual data elements and segments in the EDI, the source EDI document. This is an EDI to flat file mapping tool, which will take my EDI data elements, take like my purchase order number, and populate my EDI fields that I have available on my flat file. So simple drag and drop mapping looks like that, where I go ahead and drag the element from the left, move it to the middle, populates my data element on the right. And that's simple drag and drop mapping. We also have the ability where you can go ahead and key in this mapping requirement. So if I've got my node value, I can type that in. Node value happens to always be, I guess like from the list, node value always happens to be my target field in this case. So my node value, my PO number, is going to be equal to my edi.header.beg.element3. Value, the value in that location. So again, there's a lot of ways to slice and dice the pie to create your elements and map the required fields. I can also drag the individual field. If I know one half and I key that in and I populate the other half, complete the command, and that's done. We've also talked about earlier where we have the ability to key up within our maps and keep track of key elements and components. In this case here, this is our EDI keys for tracking and looking at data elements later. So it's EDI keys dot, key 1, 2, 3, or 4 are all available to my map, so I can go ahead and use the PO number and populate that. So as translation occurs, every time I've translated this document, anytime I'm using that PO, it's recorded and tracking, and then I can look it up on off my tracking menu. That's an excellent way to tie back multiple documents, document types, to one original key value. A great way to tie all activity like orders, invoices, ship notices, all back to the original PO. So that's an example of drag and drop mapping. Here's an example of hard coding a value. Again, it's just a matter of selecting my node value off the list, or I could have keyed it in, of course, as well. Node value, there's only one option there for the value part, and just go ahead and hard code that value. That's an example of hard coding the element. So there's a variety of reserved fields and data elements as well. If I wanted to go ahead, instead of just using PO, let's say I wanted my something off of my EDI header, like my group type, instead of my just saying that this is a PO, I go ahead and grab that data element and pop that into my flat file field. I can set this up, and I got sample data out here to run a quick test. So if I go out and I query my database, I find out what trading partners do I have that could possibly use this. I got a variety of trading partners out here. I've got a document key value. Now here, the document, I'm just going to use my EDI to flat, and I got a sample file waiting out there. I could browse for it, of course, but I've got one waiting here ready to go. And that flat file, to click on the browse again and open up with the same viewer we saw earlier. This is an example of what our viewer tool looks like, a spreadsheet view of an EDI document. Here we see I've got one order that I'm expecting. There's that order number again, 1940222. Okay, handy viewer. Something else I wish I had 10 years ago. I can also set up whether this is a fixed length flat file or a delimited flat file. The most common that we see is the delimited, of course. And I've got an output record identifier so that I can always prescribe the prefix in front of that data element. So I'm going to go ahead and run a quick test. And there's my output. So I've got a control record. I've got a header record that matches my there's my control. There's my PO info header record. Then I got two detail lines, and that matches my detail line information down here. So very good. That's the quick and easy about flat file mapping. And most mapping is based on the same criteria of mapping back and forth, being able to edit, test, and create your output immediately as you translate your documents and put it out here. Another example that we have is I've got a database EDI. So we saw the EDI coming in, sample EDI document, sample flat file. How about I've got a database? Now in my database, I've got a variety of tables out here. So my database is kind of listed here on the left again. So on the left, I got my source tree. I'm going to cut this down a little bit. In the middle here, I've got my target tree, or my EDI tree, if you will. So I got, for example, like my invoice number, dragging the invoice number, populating my target value or node value. So here, drag and drop again looks, oops, sorry, let's drop that. Drag and drop mapping looks like this. Okay, and there it is. Again, simple drag and drop mapping, same concept you saw before for flat file. The biggest differences between the two is that when I get into my EDI document, and for a database, for EDI documents and flat file, those are kind of intrinsic to the tool. We know when to query that, or we know when to step through the EDI document, so we're always looping through it. On the database side, you actually have to code your select statement. So I want to select, and I also have to be able to code my update. So I have full commit control to a database. So this is a simple select command. It's it's a function we've written, db.invoiceHeader.select. There's a simple select command. If I wanted to, I could also build into that a where clause. The example we have is right up here where I'm passing parameters, and I can put in hard-coded values as well. So if I were to code my where clause, that's what my where clause would look like. I could also put in a order by clause in here to order it by a certain sequence. So again, I've got a lot of control within my mapping tools to select, create record sets, process those record sets within EZConnect, and then step through the data as we translate the data elements. So also over here on the left-hand side, you see down here on the bottom, here's the properties for the particular data element. So this invoice number here is a string. My target properties. I got this available. Well, it's a mandatory field. This is also string. So it's string-to-string mapping. If I run a quick test, I've got again, to check my output, I've already set up the files. The database is running in the background. So all I've got to do is go ahead and query my database, and it can go ahead and throw me 20 errors. Let's go ahead and take a quick look at a couple of these errors. I got to turn off a few things. I don't need to look at all that. Get rid of my user messages. Cannot convert date and time. It's interesting. I just ran this a few minutes ago. So our date and time is being converted into, if it's not now, we'll go ahead and convert that to month, day, year. So this gives me all kinds of data errors. Cannot implicitly convert.
And I think, Glenn, that's a good example of the error tracking in the software. And I was just looking at the time, and it looks like we used up the 7 to 8 minutes. Is there anything else you wanted to show on the EDI, the database mapping, or on the map manager? And then we can just wrap this up here. I can take back over controls.
Yeah, that's plenty. We did want to go into a couple more maps. I'll have to re-practice this a little bit later and find out why we're getting it. I just ran this a few minutes ago, and it ran just fine. So I'll have to find out what data elements we're getting those errors on. There is the ability, of course, to step through this error, and as you step down through that, you need to get to the individual messages that were failing. Like there's a failed line on line 30. There's a message, so I'll go to line 30, see what data element I'm mapping. It's my invoice data element 3, so I'm on 1, 2, 3. That's what it doesn't like when I accidentally map that guy in there. That's what caused the problem. Okay, all the errors are gone. There's a sample output. When I accidentally drag and dropped, I actually mapped my invoice number to my date field. It didn't like that at all. So there are commands to make sure you got the proper format, and just took a moment to figure out what happened to it. Real quickly, on the inbound side, we saw the outbound side, we're taking the database to EDI. On the inbound side, EDI to database, the biggest difference here is not, you got drag and drop mapping and everything else, but again, you've got update controls, so you can update rows. You've got insert management, you can insert rows. You can commit these databases, so you have full commit control to the database. So every time you've processed an EDI file, no errors, you can go ahead and commit to the database. You can set your begin transaction. So again, a lot of power and capabilities for database mapping. Last but not least is XML mapping. XML mapping, again, just like flat file, fairly intrinsic to the process. This one here happens to be database to XML. I'm just going to go ahead and run a test because you've already seen the hard coding, the drag and drop mapping, querying and creating of record sets. Here's our sample XML output file, and I've really run out of time. Thank you very much for your time today.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Glenn. And as you can tell, for a live demo, we have a lot more to show. This was just one portion of our software, the Map Manager. And I'll go ahead and just take back over controls here and wrap up. So what we did, of course, is review some quick reasons of the value of drag and drop mapping and show off in the EZConnect software and demonstrate for you in the EZConnect software the features and value of drag and drop mapping. And lastly, we just like to talk about next steps and the ability to schedule a no-charge EDI consultation. Typically what we'll do is review your requirements for 20-30 minutes and type up a project scope or recap document. And this will allow us to prepare a live demonstration. Typically we take an hour for a live demonstration, and will allow us to put together pricing as well. Of course, when we put together your project scope, it allows us to confirm that we've got the best fitting solution for your needs as well, and best value for your needs as well. And if not, we'll let you know as well. I can be reached at the following contact info, and want to thank everyone for their time and interest today, and hope to hear from you very soon. Thanks so much.